Yasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Rama Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 3, Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, text number 19. Is that correct? 19? Tatari birna vyatati silimukai. Setir ditango hridayena duyata. Swanam yatava kradiyam duruktibir Divani santapyati marmatadita Tataribirna vyatate sinimukaya Sete ditango hridayena duyata Swanam yatavakradiyam duruktibir Divani santapyati marmataditaha Tataribirna vyatate sinimukaya Sete ditango hridayena duyata Swanam yatavakradiyam duruktibir Divani santapyati marmataditaha Tata, so, aribi, enemy, na, not, vyatate, is heard, shilemukai, by the arrows, shite, rests, ardita, aggrieved, angaha, apart, hridayena, by the heart, duyata, grieving, swanam, of relatives, yata, as, vakradiyam, deceitful, duruktibi, by harsh words, divanisham, day and night, tapyati, suffers, malmataditaha, one whose feelings are hurt. Translation. Lord Shiva continued, if one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative, for such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Purport. Sati might have concluded that she would take the risk of going to her father's house, and even if her father spoke unkindly against her, she would be tolerant, as a son sometimes tolerates the reproaches of his parents. But Lord Shiva reminded her that she would not be able to tolerate such unkind words, because natural psychology dictates that although one can suffer harm from an enemy and not mind so much because pain inflicted by an enemy is natural, when one is hurt by the strong words of a relative, one suffers the effects continually, day and night, and sometimes the injury becomes so intolerable that one commits suicide. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Lord Shiva had withdrawn from all kinds of worldly relationships, and he had retracted his energy and focused. He focused simply on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva invested his entire heart. Therefore, his heart was filled with deep attachment to the Supreme Lord. And as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Apuryamanam apasamudra pravisa. What is it? Anyway. The rivers that are flowing into the ocean, they are not affecting the water level of the ocean. Because the ocean is so full. So in the same way, when a devotee is so filled with Krishna, so filled with love for Krishna, so filled with thoughts of Krishna, so filled with service to Krishna, so filled in hearing about Krishna, and has no other interest than Krishna, then one can actually be detached. Any other form of detachment is simply artificial. Therefore, when we are practicing detachment for just by some philosophical adjustment, one can argue that we have no real relationship with anything in this world. One can make the case. We are simply now in this material body, and this material body belongs to a particular place, to a particular family, and we don't really have any relationships with all these things because we are eternal spirit souls. One can approach the situation like that, but the difficulty is that it is our nature to be attached. Therefore, that state of detachment that we can cultivate is simply artificial. But if one is very attached to Krishna, then there is no room anymore for anything else. Krishna just takes over. Krishna takes over all our faculties, because Krishna is the answer to all our faculties. Krishna is the answer to all our sensual perception, any desire for beauty. Krishna fulfills it to beyond anything else. Any desire for opulence, Krishna goes beyond anything that exists in this world. Therefore, he is Sada Aishwarya Purna. He can fulfill our desires more than anything else. But Sati was not at all on that level. She was attached to her family, to her father, to her mother. And when a great function was to be held, a great sacrifice where the entire universe was going to be there, everybody was going to be there. How could she not be? Anybody who was somebody was going to be there on this function. And she was not going to go. And it was even in the house of her own father. So she had several reasons to go. First of all, if everybody's going to be there, she couldn't miss out. Second of all, right, it's in her parental home. I mean, more than anything, she ought to be there. But her father had already shown to be critical of her husband. So that was a very sensitive thing. And so Lord Shiva could see. He could see what was coming. He could see that Daksha will not be able to control himself. Daksha is predictable. He is controlled by envy. And a person who is controlled by envy is predictable. A snake has to bite. Sooner or later, they have to bite. That's the nature of a snake. So what can be done? An envious person may hide that envy, but it will come out. Sooner or later, it will manifest. And of course, who's not an envious person? Ichchadvesa samuttena dvandamahena bharata sarva bhutani samaham sargayanti parantapa. All living beings are influenced by this delusion of desire and hate. So everyone is envious. So how to overcome envy within ourselves? That is another question. Chanakya Pandit points out that we should not do to others what we do not want to be done to ourselves. And in this way, we can cultivate a neutral state of mind. Anyway, here we see how when one invests in material relationships, that one is at risk to become hurt in these relationships. Whereas Lord Shiva, he was beyond it. And if Daksha would have criticized him directly, he didn't care. I mean, it didn't affect him directly. When Lord Shiva later punishes Daksha, he is not doing so for his own satisfaction. It is explained that when Lord Shiva is punishing Daksha, he's punishing him for his benefit. So Lord Shiva is a detached personality, detached from all relationships other than the relationship with Krishna. And this is really the essence. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is giving us an idea of what to do with our life and giving us an idea of what not to do with our life. So, just as we see Sarva Vidi Nisedu Shur Etior Eva Kinkaram, Vidi and Niseda. The Vidi are the positive injunctions and the Nisedas are the prohibitions. So what to do and what not to do to cultivate Krishna consciousness. So here we're seeing, we're in the not to do section. We're basically looking, don't become Daksha, don't become Sati in these matters. That was a mistake. It was not beneficial. Better act as Lord Shiva. Better cultivate that detachment and transfer one's attachment to Krishna. But then, are we cold? Are we not caring? What about our parents? What if they fall ill? We will just be transcendental and just chant and just relish the Bhagavatam and stand in front of the deities while your mother is like suffering tremendously with some horrible disease, and you'll just, these are just temporary material relationships. So, how to find that balance between being detached and yet being affectionate, and yet being a person, and yet being an ocean of kindness and compassion. It takes a lot to really deal with things properly. Just like the ambulance was racing down the road, there's a lot of traffic, somehow or other, all the cars pulled over to the side so that the ambulance could pass. And should they not? After all, no, this is serious. Now it's getting serious. This is a matter of life and death. That's serious. Is it serious? No, it's not serious at all, doctor. This is not serious. This is not serious at all. Because nobody dies. It's a total illusion to think that anyone dies. It's not the cutting edge, life and death. No. Cutting edge is to serve Krishna or not to serve Krishna. That is the cutting edge in our life. And that adjustment we make doesn't mean we become cold. Doesn't mean we are not compassionate. Doesn't mean we don't care about suffering of other people and that we're not interested in relieving that suffering. But if it's only material help, doctor, then what is the point? No benefit whatsoever. You give a pill and you save someone for a few more years and then they die anyway. What's your credit? Yeah? What have you achieved? Big thing, You gave someone the opportunity to accumulate a little more karma for 2 more years. He's a retired doctor, for those who don't know. So I target him today as the representative of all doctors, to get them back for all the cutting and all the injections and all the horrible things they've done to us innocent people. Yes, what to do? No, so we are compassionate when someone is suffering, when someone is ill. We are feeling the pain. But it's not the all in all. Right? We also see that, yes, if I'm just simply here to give my sympathy, oh, you are suffering so much, oh, it's so sad to see, oh, I feel with you, I have some hospital experience like most people, and I was just about to be wheeled into the operation theater, and then next to me there was someone else, a lady, Muslim lady, going into another operation theater, because it's like that. They're like factories, these hospitals, they wheel in a whole bunch of bodies at the same time. And this lady, she had like 6 or 7 family members holding a part of her body. Some were holding the hands, others were massaging, others sort of like the head, and they were all speaking to her at the same time. It's all right, you'll be okay, it's not so bad, and all these things are saying. I was saying, God, I wish all these people would go away, give us a peaceful moment just at this time before we go into, into the hellish planets. It's already begun, This is hellish. I couldn't imagine having to lie there and 6 people all plucking at me just as before I have to go in there to be cut up. So it's interesting. We don't need this material sympathy because It's not a real solution. What does it do? Huh? All these people are there, you'll be all right. Well, that's maybe not. That's the reality. Right? When I was sick in the hospital, all the time these people would come in with like unreasonable optimism. Oh, how are you? Everything is so good. I'm so glad you're doing so well. Well, I'm not doing well. I'm on the edge, I'm on the edge, right? What do you mean I'm doing well? It can go either way. You know it as well as I do, right? Yeah. So what are you telling me? You're doing so well. Let's see how it will go. Right? That's the reality. Don't take away the reality from me and gloss it over with your sugar syrup and make me all look, oh, it's all so nice, because what's the benefit of this? I'll just be thinking, oh, I'm all right, and then I croak it. Right? Better I'm realistic. Not pessimistic. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, it's so terrible. Oh, why is all this happening to me? Oh, misery has come upon me. Doom, doom, black, dark, terrible, horrible hell has come to me now. Oh, poor me. No, not that either. Just sober. Just sober. Take it as it comes. Yeah. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's, just don't start running with the mind. Here, there. Run into optimistic mood, run into a pessimistic mood. No. The sages are sober. They take it as it is. They just simply say, yeah, this is not nice. But anyway, it's temporary. This is suffering, all right, but it's not really touching the soul, right, in a sense. It's affecting the material body. Therefore, no need to get all emotional about this. Why is all this happening? Oh. Why get also emotional about something that we are not? That's the sages. The sages who are looking at the world with philosophical eyes, who are seeing the truth. They see the eternal nature of the soul, and therefore, why identify so much with the body? Tolerate, and it will pass. That's the sages. The devotees, they are with Krishna. They're remembering Krishna. And when they really remember Krishna with great love, then how small is everything else? Now, it's easier said than done. I have a dentist who has a video in the ceiling. Right? And when I'm there, for me, he plays Prabhupada videos. So I'm watching with my eyes, I'm watching Prabhupada, and it's all the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. And meanwhile, he's drilling my teeth, and and that part's in the hellish planets. And it's such a strange experience. It really creates some sort of division in me, right? Where I feel like part of me is definitely in hell, and the other part's sort of like, okay, a little bit there in the spiritual world. Meanwhile, I'm with the dentist. Right? No matter what video is playing there. Anyway, it's a strange experience. So it's easier said than done. But we're seeing exactly, though, that Srila Prabhupada had that level of absorption, and that he was nirapeksha, not affected. Not affected. So Lord Shiva here is nirapeksha. He is not affected. And then Sati is very affected. We know that at one point, it's gonna hurt her a lot, the harsh words of her father, and then, she'll give up her body. So, we can, the Bhagavatam is not a book for people who want to just add a little spiritual sauce to the everyday life, you know, like a dip sauce. You dip a piece of carrot in the sauce, and tasty. No, spiritual life is not an addendum. Spiritual life is not something we want to sort of add to our life to fulfill our hankering for more meaning in life. No, the Bhagavatam is revolutionary, and the Bhagavatam is, in a sense, making a frontal attack on us, right? On how we've dug ourselves into our material attachments. We live in a deep fort of false ego, right? This is where I live. This is me. I have built this over many lives, and it's strong like anything. Nothing can break this fort of false ego, which is my residence. And there I am. And the Bhagavatam is mercilessly attacking it. It's not sentimental at all. It's not sensitive to our feelings. No, the Bhagavatam is just giving it to us straight in the face, in a sense. And demanding, not like, see, when we are emotionally attached, and if someone pushes, then we make noise. Oh, how can you say this to me? So, okay, I didn't mean it, you know. Okay, then it's okay, you didn't mean it, so I am okay, I can stay where I am. But the Bhagavatam means it. It means it. That we really have to rise above material identification. That's the idea. But yat anujasina yukta karma granti nibandhana, to cut with the sort of knowledge that's painful, that is hard. So to develop detachment with philosophy, that's very hard. And who can do it? Therefore, by attachment to Krishna, it happens automatically. And by serving Krishna, attachment to Krishna will automatically arise, because that's us. We get attached to anything. Yeah? As soon as we have association with it for a couple of days, we're attached. Couple of weeks, more attached. Couple of months, really attached. Couple of years, it's my life. It's a piece of me. You know, I mean, can you imagine how hard it is to take vanaprastha after a decent marriage, not a 3-day marriage or a 3-year marriage, but after a proper marriage, right? Which is like more than half of your life, right? More than half of your life. And then leave home? You cannot. You've become one with that person. You have, all your memories are together. You know, you talk about your life, and that other person was there also. Every time, every picture in your brain. I'm speaking then from the male perspective, since that's where I'm now. Then she's there, in every picture. So how hard is this vanaprastha? That's what are vanaprasthas doing. Vanaprasthas are getting over the pain. That's what it is. They get over the pain of leaving home. They're just there in the forest, eating some berries and some roots. But it's not like that they're on a health trip, you know. I'm back to the forest, I'm doing berries and roots and all those things. No. It's like the pain, the deep pain in their heart of like cutting something that's become part of them. I mean, of course, you know, in one sense, marriage is a strange thing, because there is such an intimacy, and sometimes it's unnatural because there are two persons and someone has the right to just step into your life and you can't say anything. You know, you may be in a room and you may want to be alone, but when you're married, you have no right to do that, you know. You don't. She can walk in any time. And if you say no, Third World War. That's the right, you know. So after vanaprastha, the good times begin. Then you can come out of the forest and have fun. because you can be detached. And you can just really invest in what really matters, the relationship with Krishna. What can I say? I'm after all speaking as a sannyasi. I can't hide it any longer. Sometimes I'm not immediately putting it out there. But actually, of course, sannyas is the best position there is in the material world. There's no doubt about it. Of course, to just say, forget it. Krishna only. That's the best. What's better than that? So much for Krishna, so much for me. Oh God, so many complications. How much is for us, how much complicated life. Why for me? For Krishna. Minimize the personal needs as much as possible. That is, of course. I say these things, but I'm happy that I have a warm blanket, right, at the moment, because it's Melbourne after all, and you want a warm blanket in Melbourne. So, not artificial austerity. I don't think I would want to sleep in the forest right now on a bed of leaves, right, under a thin chadar or something. No thanks. So, that Prabhupada was not one who was the most austere in a material sense. Prabhupada didn't show his austerity by wearing less clothes in cold weather, by sleeping on the floor, in old age. No, that's not. By cold showers, no. He had his servant warm up the water. But Prabhupada showed his austerity in giving mercy to others, in his compassion, and then tolerating anything and everything, going right down to the people. See, one can preach nicely and comfortably from a safe position, nice spiritual environment, and then in a nice spiritual environment we invite some guests, we let them in, and then you give a nice talk, and in this way you don't have to go out of your nice pink bubble. But Prabhupada went out of the pink bubble and went straight down to the level of the street, the Bowery. It went down to the level of whatever was going on there on the Lower East Side. It was low. It was the Lower East Side. It was low life. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. People taking so many drugs, it was crazy times. Definitely. And Prabhupada dealt with it. And just like I like that story when Prabhupada, before matchless gifts, was staying on the loft, and this journalist has heard there's a Swami from India, he's coming. So he comes on the loft, and the loft is filled with all kinds of hippies that kind of look like they're only half there. And the journalist looks around, and then he sees the Swami, in his robes and so on. And he walks across the room, and just like, like Stanley said, Livington, I presume, he said, Bhaktivedanta Swami, I presume. And Prabhupada said, yes. And then he asked his first question. And he said, what are these people doing here? Prabhupada said, I don't know. And they don't know either. That was like, think about that. Oh God, to be with them all the time. Not just for a program, right? Okay, we did a program in the squat house, we went in there, and all the insanity of the squat house was all over the walls, graffiti and like all the weird stuff, and it smelled People were smoking things, and you knew what kind of things, and you went in there and did a great program. We've gone into such programs many times. Went to a house party and that time we came back with one less than we went with. What to do? It happens. So we take these risks, but are you gonna live with a house party? Are you gonna stay with them all the time? But Prabhupada did. He lived there on the Lower East Side. And because such an elevated personality came down to such a level, people were just amazed. Everyone was just amazed. And then amazing results. No one else did that. So that is required. That is his austerity and compassion. So we also, if we are to perform austerity, that's where it should be. Austerity in extending our compassion by not just making life easy. And since I was in the beginning on the case of the doctors, I'll share one story at the end now about a doctor. And that was in Calcutta. And there was, in Calcutta is an intense place. Right? Some have called it the black hole in the universe. I will not say that, of course, but it is quite black in Calcutta. Because somehow or other if it rains in Calcutta and the drops come from the trees, they leave black stains on your cloth. Right? Because there's a lot of carbon in the air and on the walls and everywhere. It's black, and there are black crows eating garbage, and it's intense. Right? So, lepers on the street with rattles. So, okay, you know they're coming, and so you can cross the street. That's the system, Calcutta. So many nice things about Calcutta we can say. And one thing about Calcutta is that you see these doctors, right, in little chambers, and waiting rooms are filled with patients, and the garden is filled with patients, and you see patients with bloody bandages sitting there and so on. And these doctors work from morning to night. From morning to night, right, every day, long, long days. And one such doctor came to my Bhagavatam class, and he was saying, at the end of the class, he was saying, you are doing the greatest welfare work, much greater than what I am doing, right? And I was thinking about it, yes, we are going for some sabji and puris at the Guptas, and we're doing a program here, program there, and they give us some donations, and meanwhile these doctors, they slug it out, right? Slug it out there with the bloody bandages and the flies and all the diseases and heavy stuff. And then we are doing the greatest welfare work. But some of these people, maybe we're doing because we give the greatest things, but some of these people are making such a sacrifice. And then we wonder, what are we doing? Nice and comfortable in our little movement, having a good time, arguing a little bit over who gets the maha, and who stole the Mongolic sweets. I'm not attacking this movement, right? Because this movement is doing amazing preaching, absolutely. But I'm rather attacking a little corner of our consciousness called comfort zone, that little, and I'm just basically, what can we do to rise above that weakness. What can we do? If only we could, then Prabhupada said, this movement could take over the world in 18 days. In the 80s, this was in every class, you would hear this statement. Now it's forgotten. But I thought maybe I should dust it off today. Put it here. We could take over the world in 18 days. If only. So any questions, any comments? Anirudh.
I have a dilemma.
Yeah.
Prabhupada did say that sannyas is for preaching.
Yeah?
The Vaishnava sannyas is for preaching.
Yeah.
And the Kadamba sannyasi is for liberation.
Mm-hmm.
And but on that point, that last point that you made, when we joined ISKCON, you were out on the street in the first day almost, if not the first week, out on Sankirtan or even on book distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that, I know that amongst our community there is a reluctance to get out of your comfort zone and go into, actually go out and kind of stand on the street and be a Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, whatever. There's a tendency amongst the congregation to stick to their own programs and keep it comfortable. But of course we limit ourselves if we're doing that. But of course that's not a bad thing. That's actually, any kind of preaching is not easy. Whilst we might say that's easy, well actually it's not easy. It's an effort to do that. But at the same time, we know that Srila Prabhupada encouraged, and by his own example, went out wherever he was to himself. And we've seen the amount of effort that Prabhupada put in is phenomenal. So, to reach the non-Krishna conscious community, if you like. So, I'm kind of wondering, what should we push the devotees to get out? Right? Or should we?
Mm-hmm.
I think I know the answer, but it's worth talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Like push the devotees to get out, but at the same time appreciate what they're already doing. But there's, and here's what I want to get to. Is there spiritual benefit in going into that discomfort zone? And so therefore, we've got our sadhana and we study Prabhupada's books and we do all those things for our spiritual benefit. But is the Sankirtan movement such a spiritual culture that actually it's part of our austerity, if you like, and it's part of our making spiritual advancement that we embrace Lord Chaitanya's mission and we actually go out and do Sankirtan on a weekly basis or some regular basis?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I was sort of stirring it up a little bit just to do exactly this, to create some discussion.
I'm stirring the pot with you.
Yeah, and because I'm not saying it has to be a stereotype thing. Right? I don't say that everyone has to do it in the same way, and that there's only one thing, one approach to preaching. There are many approaches, but yes, as you were describing, Srila Prabhupada was a very dynamic missionary preacher, and he created a movement around him which was also very dynamic. And there was a lot of preaching, and he would push his men to preach. Then these men turned around and started pushing the next generation, which was us. Now, Prabhupada had more depth in pushing, right, than the next generation of leaders. So sometimes we see that the next generation of leaders with less maturity sometimes pushed us, our generation, a little too much, and some cracked, quite a few fell by the wayside, so there was an imbalance in that time. But the spirit, right, the spirit of just going out and giving out mercy to people, that spirit is completely right. And that spirit is still needed, because without it, one will never overcome lust. You know, we can have all the cultivation for ourselves. We can go every week to different programs and so on. We can put tilak for many years. But what about lust? You know, lust is going to attack us again and again and throughout our life. Will it ever go away? It would be all so nice if we were devotees, if lust wasn't there. It would be so nice. You know, because we're convinced about this. No, really. We like Krishna consciousness, we think it's all good, you know. But there's just this one nagging thing. This one nagging thing. Lust is back again. And what do we do now? Gosh, even now, after all these years, there is lust again. Go away. yeah, sure. Like the ball on the water pops up on the other side. It's just very difficult to deal with this. And the only way it starts to disappear if we are really going to develop this spirit of compassion, of giving mercy to others. So this movement, certainly we can offer many programs. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu is very intelligent in modernizing book distribution. He makes it much more accessible. He says in the old days, we used to climb over the wall. He said, you know, to get in. Nowadays, we just ask permission and we go through the front door. I mean, no, it's a different approach, right? But so it can be softer. Yeah, it can also be a stand. You know, it can also be you have a stand in a mall. You know, it don't have to be in disguise in the mall. We have people who are distributing books in malls and change shirts every hour. Just so that the cameras, you know, the constant cameras are not catching the thing. Change hat, you know, wear one hat, change hat, different hat. All these games are being played, yeah, I mean. Then, you know, so there are all kinds of ways that it can be made easier. So that's the management's job, you know, to kind of, and preachers, senior preachers, to come up with different programs. That books, sooner or later, are going to be part of it. You know, that books are going to make a big difference, that's obvious. Right? Whatever preaching we do, sooner or later, Prabhupada's books are going to create a turning point. Right? That's what it does. So whether you preach like yogi, bogi, you know, stretch, bend, you know, touch your nose, you know, and whatever it is. So the substance is the substance. East, west, south, whatever is best, you know, but somewhere along the line, the substance of Prabhupada's books, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Prasadam has to be there. And we have to share that with people. They're not going to wait for us. Right? Although these days, I find there are so many people who are actually interested in what we have to offer. And, you know, but how to do it? Now, sometimes Indian people, they don't know how to preach to Westerners. Right? And one thing, sometimes, not always, but sometimes they don't know. And why is it? Because they immediately have to bring in religion. Don't bring in religion and don't bring in ritual. Right? Like the other day I was in this cafe and some devotees came and they started to offer full obeisances in the program, right? Go, stop this now, you know. And you want to chase everyone away. Yeah? Don't bring this in now. Keep it out. Just be a normal person. You know, shake hands, say hello, you know, how are you? You know, you don't always have to say, Hare Krishna. You know, the first person you see, Hare Krishna. You know, it's scary, right? I would have been scared too if someone did that to me. Some straight. We can say hello. Hello. No problem. Hello, how are you? Nice. Hare Krishna comes in a little later. Yes. Like this. First we have the values. Speak about the values. Don't speak about the form. Don't present the form. It's not about the form. It's not about the temple. It's not about, you know, you have to do it like this and that. No. Just speak about some values. Speak about the modes of nature. Speak about goodness. Explain the difference between living in goodness, passion, or ignorance. In this way, we must learn to connect this philosophy. Not that we walk straight in, you know, it's all Maya, you know, Krishna is the only way. I mean, you know, they'll start barking at us. Woof, get out of here, sect, cult, you know. We don't want these people here. Yeah, naturally, stop being a cult. Be a normal person, just like you're at work. At work, we are normal people. So, in preaching outside of the, in India, everybody knows, right? All you have to do is remind them, Indian culture is about dharma. Dharma basically means, what is my duty? The West is about my rights. You know, what are my rights? I have rights, right? And India is about duty. So even if people don't care about duty anymore, still they know they're not caring about duty. So they know I should actually care about duty, but I don't. So you just have to remind them of duty. That's easy preaching. But with someone from anywhere else in the world, no. You just carefully give them knowledge. Don't talk about God, just talk about values. The benefit of living a life of purity. No, you cannot drink alcohol, it's very bad. Why? I'm from the West. Tell me why. It's great. Thins the blood, mate. It's good. It's good. Yeah. You know, gets rid of the germs. So, in other words, it's not like, in the old days, there was also a lot of force. They would throw us out the van, literally, right? Out. They didn't want to go. Now, and you'd stand there in your Hare Krishna outfit, or later in disguise, with a wig. We had to be shaved, because you had to be shaved. So they gave me a wig. They gave me this ridiculous blonde curly wig. I looked like a flaming pufta. No, I did. I did. That wig was terrible. I put a hat on top, because it was such a terrible wig. And then I had like a wig and a head. And it was so hot. Right? So I was sweating, right? Sweating with this ridiculous wig on. It was like, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be more natural. So we can find natural ways to connect with people and present Krishna consciousness. And preaching is fun. Sometimes we should just all go out And instead of having a program in the temple, we should just have a program somewhere outside, in public program. We should go out to the people and make plans to do that. How? Talk with Aniruddha. And if you want ideas, I have many. And others also. All together, we can come up with great ideas. Okay, it's late. So with your permission, I'll end. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.